Marley Bird YouTube channel. In this video, I will show you how to make the super simple Lucky Stripes shawl. This shawl has very simple construction using easy crochet stitches, so it's great for a beginner. It also uses two different colorways of a long color changing yarn. We are using Red Heart's Colorscapes for this example, but in reality, you could use any two colorways you want of any yarn you wish to choose. What you need to do is grab that free pattern available at marleybird.com. I'll put a link to the free pattern in the video description box right down there below. And while you're down there, don't forget to smash that like button, as my kids say. Once you have the pattern and your materials, join me back here. I'll show you how to work up this really easy stitch pattern and how to change colors every 2 rows to get this really great color look effect. Using 2 different colorways of long color changing yarns to complete a project is nothing new. What's fantastic though is that you don't have to use Noro. You can use any 2 colorways of long color changing yarn to get this really cool look. And it's used up in shawls, in hats, scarves, cowls, gloves, socks, you name it. It can be done. And so what I really want you to take away from this video is how to make this wonderful shawl and how to do the color changes so that way you can get this really cool look. We are going to let the yarn do all of the work for us. We're going to use simple stitches and we're going to get this really cool effect. So let's go ahead and jump in with no more talking. For the super simple Lucky Stripes shawl, you want to chain a multiple of 8 plus 3. Once you've done that, you will work in the second chain from hook and single crochet all the way down those chains just with a row of single crochets. Now I've stopped with 3 single crochets left to create here just so I could show you how to work into the chain stitches. I want you to work into 2 loops. So this loop that's right here and the one that's in back. We're going to leave this bottom loop free. So what I like to do is, like I'm stabbing through that chain stitch. See how that leaves that bottom loop free and I kind of have 2 loops on my hook? That's what I want as I'm creating the single crochet. I'll do it again to the next one, create my single, and then of course in my last one. The last one's a little bit trickier because it's right next to your slip knot, but it can be done. So once again, this is a multiple of 8 plus 3. Once you've done that, it's time to do the second row, and we are not changing colors yet. We've done the chains, the first row, and now we're working on the second row, all with the same color. When we work this second row, I want to show you a very special way to do a double crochet here at the start. Typically, when you work a pattern, you would start off with a chain 3, and that chain 3 would count as a double crochet. You would skip that stitch, move on, and do double crochets all the way across. The problem here is that chain 3 doesn't really look like a double crochet. So what I want to do is show you a little trick of what I like to do when I'm working a project where the double crochets at the edge of my work are really going to be visible and I want them nice, clean, and crisp. Let me go ahead and take out these chain 3s. All right, so I'm back at the start here. I've turned my work. I am not going to chain, okay? So I've brought my chain that's on my hook. It's just kind of brought up level. I'm going to go into this first single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. So I've done sort of a single crochet, right? What I want to do now is, you see how I kind of have 2 parallel loops? I have a stitch right there and I'm not going to call that a stitch. Let's call that a loop and let's call this a loop. What I want to do is I want to take my hook and very similarly to how we did it in the chains, I want to pierce between those 2 loops, okay? What I've done is the bottom loop is right here and the top loop, it looks like it has 2 there, right? So I've just pierced it. I will yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. So I've done another single crochet. See how this makes it look like on the edge here? It's a really clean sort of chain stitches, but on the body, on the post, it looks like a double crochet. I can carry on now working my double crochet into the next stitch and follow along in the pattern as normal. And see how nice that looks right there? It doesn't look like just a row of chains. It looks like a really nice clean edge. All right, so you learned something new. If you don't want to do the double crochet in this method, you don't have to. You can just do chain 3s and have those count as your double crochet. I'll leave that up to you. But if you want to make yours a little bit something special, try this technique out. Okay, let's follow along with the pattern. The first part of the pattern wants you to put a double crochet in these first 8 single crochets. So that was our first one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. What I want to point out here is we start off with 8 here at the beginning and we will end with 8. But everything in between, we will just be doing 6 double crochets, and that's written in the pattern, but I just want to point that out. Once you've done that, you then will do chain 2, skip 2 single crochets, and then double crochet in the next 6. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, this is my repeat. This chain 2, skip 2 single crochets, and then 6 double crochets in the 6 stitches. Once I've done that, I will continue on until I get to the last 10 stitches of my row. When I get to the last 10 stitches, I will end by chaining 2, skipping 2, and then working a double crochet in my last 8 single crochet. This is where I mentioned that we started off with 8 and we're going to end with 8. I just like the way that this looked on the shawl with the 8 on the ends and 6 in the center. So that's why I made the shawl pattern to be this way. Don't forget, when you get to the very end here, you could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You don't want to forget this very last stitch here. So you want to make sure you go into it and you complete that double crochet. Okay, so your work will obviously be longer than this if you're making the shawl, but essentially it's 8 double crochets, chain 2, skip 2, 6 double crochets, and that's your repeat. Okay, and you would do that till you get to the last 10 stitches. Then you chain 2, skip 2, 8 double crochets. All right, that's the end of rows 1 and 2. The next 2 rows, we actually want to change colors. And not only are we going to change colors, but we are not going to go down the entire row. We're going to stop a little bit short. So that way we can get that really cool stair-step look at the end of our shawl. To change colors, you can either finish off your work, cut your yarn, and rejoin, or you can join at the second half of this last double crochet. And that's what I want to do. So I am going to go ahead, undo the last part of that double crochet. Okay, so I'm putting those 2 loops on. For the shawl, I cut my yarn and I rejoined. If you decide to use this stitch pattern for something else, you could carry up the yarn. I'll leave it up to you, but for me, I cut and rejoined. So here I am, I cut my yarn, I left at least 4 to 6 inches. I grab my next colorway, so this is a different colorway, yarn over my hook, and pull through the 2 loops that were on my hook. So what that does is it has left the stitches that are in here in this post, all still in this colorway, but the new loop on my hook is my new colorway, which makes it nice and clean as I transfer. I can go ahead and turn my work. And for this, I did a traditional continuation. So I chained 1 and I just did a single crochet in the first stitch. Now what I want to do is I will single crochet all the way down this row until I get to the last 4 stitches. I am not going to single crochet in the last 4 stitches, and that will give me my stair step. As I work into each one of these single crochets and place a regular single crochet, I'm going through 2 loops, okay? I'm going through 2 loops, not just the front, not just the back. I want to go through both loops. And when I get to any of the chain 2 spaces, I will place 2 single crochet into the entire space. You see that? Go into that whole space and placing a single crochet. So 1, 2. And then I carry on. Remember, you want to do this all the way down the row until you get to the last 4 stitches. I'm to the last 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4. I am going to leave those stitches unworked and I will carry on for this row along the stitches I just made. Now here's where things change up ever so slightly. This next row is going to be worked similarly to the way we did row 2. However, we will offset our chain 2s so that way we get a really cool offset look. So let's begin by doing this double crochet that I showed you at the start. So you will not chain. We will go into the single crochet and work a single crochet. And then working between that bar and that bar. Okay, I'm going to go in between them. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. And I get this really cool sort of stacked single crochets to make a double crochet, stacked double crochet, okay? And then I would carry on. So I will do a total of 8 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now I want you to notice something. By doing those 8 stitches, I've worked across my chain 2 area that was from the previous row 2, okay? And this is where I begin my repeat. So I chain 2, skip 2, and work 6 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You will work this all the way down to the last 6 stitches of your row. That's where it's different from row 2. On row 2, we did to the last 10 stitches. On this row, row 4, we want to work down to the last 6 stitches. When you get to the last 6 stitches, you will chain 2, skip 2, and then double crochet in the last 4. So on row 4, or you could think of it as any time you use this particular colorway, you will always finish with 4 double crochets instead of the 8. Remember we did 8 down here, we have 4 up here. But we always begin with our 8, okay? But see how we're getting this stair step? We've left 4 unworked, and then we continued on, working on. Now that we're at the end of row 4, we would change our color back to our color A, and work all the way down this row to the last 4 stitches, once again leaving those unworked, and then continuing on with the stitch pattern. So let's show you how to do that one more time. I'm going to change my color, so I will take out this last pull through. So I put those 2 loops on my hook. Remember, I am going to have nice little fringe or tassels, so I'm cutting my color every time, grabbing my color A again. And then I will yarn over. I like to hold my yarn in place. I will yarn over with my color A and pull through. Okay? Then I turn my work and I carry on. I start off with the chain 1 and then single crochet. And then I will single crochet all the way down this row to the last 4 stitches. Remember that whenever you come to a chain 2 space, you will work 2 single crochets. Whew, that was fast, right? But it looks really cool. As you take a look at this, it's neat to see how the 2 different colorways really work well together and how the stair steps are happening and we're gradually decreasing down the number of stitches we have. Because we have a small sample here, it's a little bit difficult to see just how much effect these color changes actually happen on the piece. So let me pull in another example. This uses the same colorways as used on the actual sample, so that way you can get a better look at how this works up. As I pull this in, I want to show you how this works up. This is the beginning of my row, and this is using Sydney and Rome. Okay, so this is Sydney and Rome. Those are the colorways. And as you watch me work this through, you're going to see how the color changes really look differently from where it began to where it ends. I mean, look at this. Look how pretty this goes into completely different colors. And then we get to where our stair steps are, right? So this is the stair steps, just like I just showed you. And then right here, I'm getting ready to work down to the last 4 stitches, and then I will work my double crochets back. But if I put these side by side, the beginning of the shawl to the end of the shawl, I mean, look how different they look. But they still complement each other and look really cool. So as I mentioned, changing 2 different colorways of the same yarn is a really great way to let the yarn do all the work for you. This is a very simple stitch pattern. I just showed you how to work the entire stitch pattern, right? It's just single crochets and double crochets. But by changing colors every 2 rows, we're getting a really cool, unique look. Hopefully you will run out, grab yourself some Red Heart Colorscapes yarn, or maybe you have some long color changing yarn in your stash you just weren't sure what to do with. Go ahead, pull those out, grab a hook, and try this super simple Lucky Stripe shawl. You won't be disappointed. It's really, really unique. And depending on what size yarn you're using, try out different hook sizes. You could really have some fun with this. Remember, the stitch multiple is a Hey, don't leave yet. I'm sure there are other videos here that you will enjoy. Go ahead and check out some of my knitting and crochet videos, as well as some of my crafting videos. You will love them, I promise. If you hit subscribe, you'll be up to date whenever there's a new video released. And as my kids say, don't forget to smash that like button. Bye. Everything you need to know about knitting or crochet can be found right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Learn with Marley Bird. Visit youtube.com/Marley Bird.